First, if we start with the area formula. For a rectangle, area formula is what? Base times height. Now, here's the case where you have a parallelogram where the base and height are the actual both bases, right? Base 1 and base 2 is just the product of consecutive bases. Will give you your area here. Okay, so we need to know this length, I'll call it B, and this height, call it H. Okay, so this second half is 6 because in any parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. And now you could also say what's the length of BE and ED? They're each going to be 6 as well, right? So you could use that. Now, if you used BE and ED, you'd have enough information to use law of sines. Okay, but that's unnecessary. Okay, it's a little more complicated. The oblique or non-right triangles are usually a little more challenging to work with than right triangles. Is there a way that you can use a right triangle here? If you can use right triangles, you should. I know some of you still will use law of sines for a right triangle. It works. So it's fine if you use it. But if you can get familiar with SOHCAHTOA and the trig ratios for the right triangle, that's often going to be a faster or more efficient way to approach the problem. So if you look at this, and I'm just going to take this reference triangle that I'm using right here. We have the angle of 20 degrees, and what's the whole hypotenuse of triangle ABC? 12. Could I find H and B using trig ratios? Yeah, because now you can set it up. You have an angle, you have an adjacent side, and a hypotenuse. Which trig ratio is that? Cosine. So you could say that the cosine of 20 degrees is equal to adjacent B over hypotenuse 12. And so really, here is your base. Your base is just 12 times the cosine of 20. Okay. And then to find our height, we have an angle, the side opposite, and the hypotenuse. Opposite and hypotenuse is the relationship of which trig ratio? So the sine of 20 degrees is equal to H over 12. Once again, multiply both sides by 12. And here's your height, 12 times, and here we have the sine of 20. So we can find our total area by simply multiplying all those. So when we multiply those, we can get 12 times the cosine of 20 times 12 times the sine of 20. Put it into decimal form and hit enter, and you'd get your area to be approximately 46.28. Because it's a two-dimensional measurement, it's in square units. Again, the U just represents some unlabeled unknown unit. Okay? And that would be your solution.